Hey.
Da-na-na-na-na.
Hey,
Thanks, everybody.
I got to play love interest.
Everybody who's has their camera turned off, you can come back on now.
Hi.
All of our listeners. So thanks, everybody. That was
thank
great.
you very much.
Thanks for bringing that to life. That was really something.
I miss people.
Mark,
Damn it.
do you have any thoughts?
I was going to ask you folks that. Is there anything I need to fix, or what you guys might have thought of it? Or, I'm always in this vacuum. I like somebody just said a minute ago, I miss people, and we don't see each other. So I've been working on this pretty much all summer and into up to about a couple of weeks ago. And any thoughts you folks have, any suggestions, would be really welcome.
More TNA.
Okay.
No, Mark, I really liked it. I kind of know more about maybe 19th and 20th century European history than anything else. So I'm just kind of interested, like, how well versed are you in the life of Joan of Arc and everything? Like, how much studying did you do of this to prepare for writing this?
Well,
or did you naturally have?
Well, it all started really with seeing St. Joan, I think it was early last year. And she was never in a place in my head before, but having seen that show just made me really interested in her story. Also, towards the end of last year, I was in a play. I was in Henry V. It really got me to see the French side of things. Because in Henry V, he's the superhero, and he's got every right to do this. He's got every right to take over France. And that's a conflict that's been going on since at least 1066 AD. But yeah, having been in Henry V, it's like, wow, what if these people want to kick in my door, and tell me how to breathe the air? I'm really into defenders, but not into conquerors. It really changed my mind about Henry V because I felt a little bad about that, but I'm like, well, if he's a conqueror and doesn't have any right to do that. I don't think so, but I don't know that kind of impediment. I've read everything I can about Joan of Arc. I spent most of this year reading about her. I took down all her, I took down everything about the trial. I've read the Shaw play. I've read. I have 2 other books about it that I got to get back to because life has just kind of yanked me away from it. She's pretty new to me, but I'm very interested in her.
As one of the things that really kind of I thought really kind of attracted me to the play, and I thought was really intriguing, was the amount of the play that doesn't involve Joan, that involves more discussion about how God treats us, and the discussions of the angels and the angels with Satan, and it's like and not your typical conversation as you would usually find in something with Joan of Arc. It's like, I'm just going to tempt you away. It's more, hey, by the way, he doesn't care about you. And like, look, you're doing what he asked, but he's going to leave you high and dry. And then how do we respond to that? And I think, even from the angels, finding the same thing. I just thought those concepts were really interesting, and I thought, I welcomed them in the play because I think it kind of adds another dimension to it that's really, really interesting. It sets it apart from most plays about Joan of Arc.
And I want to party with this version of Satan, man. He's
I'm sorry? I'm sorry, Cassie, I didn't hear you.
I said I want to party with this version of Satan.
Oh. Somehow you're cutting out. I'm really sorry.
Hold up. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, that's better.
One of the audience members is here right next to me, and she had to mute hers. That's why you can see Abba twice sometimes. But yeah, I said I wanted to party with your version of Satan.
Oh, yeah. He was a lot of fun to write. You know?
Yeah. You played him so beautifully, by the way.
Yes, you were excellent. Too.
Thank you.
You all were great. Thank you very much for. It's so strange to hear it because I've never heard it before. You know? But, it comes from, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mark.
Well, Satan comes from a lot of walks I've had with God, you know, and how I've really been let down by his children and by his followers. You know, I could tell you a couple of stories about it, you know, and the hypocrisy that I've come across with people who swear, you know, it's like Satan says, you know, they really think they live in God, but some folks that I've known, they really do think they live in God, but they don't. You know, they've been put to the test, and you know, I've been kind of let down. You know, I used to listen to WARB Life Changing Radio. I had this 1986 Corolla, and I had two stations came on, LKW and WARB, and they had some fantastic stories, and it was a great show. I couldn't wait to listen to it on the way to work. You know, I was as about as religious as I could possibly have gotten in this world. And then the guy who led it said, "You're asinine if you don't believe in the ways of Jesus Christ. You're asinine." There's a show, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen the Carol Burnett show, but she was going to go on the Gong Show, and everyone was against it. She went on, and she was terrible, and they turned the TV off on her. And when they turned the TV off on her, you hear this huge noise. That's what I felt like on that day when I got disillusioned with God.
Yeah.
You know, it was a real letdown. I've really tried to walk with him, but I always fall a little short. So I hope you guys don't think I'm a Satanist or anything. I'm not.
No, actually, I got quite the opposite from this, Mark. I can throw it out to some people that were just listening. Taylor, you said you wanted to say something.
Yeah, do you want to mute yourself?
Oh, yeah, I'll mute myself. Sorry.
Hi. Oh, my goodness.
Well, that was fun.
Is it good?
Oh, we're still in space. Hold up.
How is that happening?
Turn your volume on now.
Oh, turn my volume on now. That might be good. Ah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I love Satan in this show. If anything, I think you just need more Satan. that
Don't
question,
we all?
right? that question of like the seed of doubt that he plants in Joan at the beginning of the second act. I think you could like run with that from the beginning of the show, and that would like, I don't know. I just think that's really an interesting way to go about it. Is like if Satan is pushing her to doubt God the whole time, and then the saints are trying to stop him until, you know, Margaret has her revelation. But yeah, no, I think Satan was like a really interesting character in this play.
And I don't know, can you hear me from all the way over there?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I said to Greg today that he reminded me, his like sassiness reminded me a lot, obviously, of Hades from Hercules, but his relationship with Joan very much reminded me, I'm going to bring up Xena for the 20th time this evening, of the way that Ares interacts with Xena in the very kind of like sly, trying to convince you kind of way, but also a begrudging admiration and almost like infatuation with her because she won't go over to the other side. And I always find that kind of dynamic very fascinating because in the end, you know, he's like, you know what? I'm happy you're happy. But on some level, I think he kind of means that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Satan's very fond of Joan. You know, because I'm very fond of Joan. If I'm anybody in this, I would be Satan. And it's a really terrible thing to say, I know. But yeah, I just get one feeling I get from doing this, from having written this, is that he is fond of her.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to take her to hell. You know.
Right.
That's the whole thing about Satan. He's a salesman. You know, he can convince you of anything, and you'll go along with it because he's such a silver-tongued guy. You know, he knows how to get you to think the way he wants. You know, especially when, if I may say so, when he says, "Well, you finally see the ugliness of what you're being asked to do." You know, Margaret's never thrilled about this. but she doesn't want to go up against. She doesn't want to go against Catherine, and definitely not Michael. Michael is the militant guy, but Catherine is sort of the softer side of Michael. You know, you get more. You know, you get more. She's the sugar, where Michael's the vinegar.
Right.
Well, and I just want to add, you know, I think not only does Satan's voice speak, it speaks truth to a lot of audience members too, and it speaks a lot of truth to people who are believers of God. To, you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's saying anything crazy, right? And so I think that's why we enjoy his character so much, because you know he's not, maybe it's just my brother's depiction of it, but I don't know that he's trying to be overly sly or anything. He's just speaking what is like, hey, have you truly the devil's advocate? Have you thought about it this way? Like, this doesn't make any sense, right? It's like more of a relatable character. And I mean, he is ends up being a bit of a hero in a lot of ways, because he punishes the bishop for doing such an unfathomable crime, you know, and to Joan, to a child. And you know, that I think also helps make him be a more realistic voice. And I also thought the character of Margaret was not only played so well, holy cow, you're incredible, but I think she also represents, like, I don't know, what at least I hope saints are, right? I hope that saints still had their moments where they're like, I don't know about this. Maybe that just makes a more interesting character. So I really thought they not only popped off the page because they were so well acted, but because I think they are truly what people in 2020 who would tune in for a show on Joan of Arc would be thinking and saying and thinking, they're not wrong. This is cray cray. Like what are we even reading about this for? Like who are we believing in? Yeah. And I think that's a nice challenge that both characters really bring up, and very well played. Congratulations, you two.
I'm just throwing it out there. Satan Margaret ticket 2024.
I could do that. We could. Yeah.
I'd vote for that.
One of the questions that I always had, I mean, you know, I do consider myself an atheist now, but I grew up Catholic, went to Catholic school, all that jazz. And I always thought from the days of Catholic elementary school, if Satan punishes the bad guys, what's so bad about Satan?
Yay, Satan. Right.
If he's down there.
Well, in the Old Testament, they're not enemies. God and Satan are not enemies.
Exactly.
God appoints Satan as kind of a warden, you know. But the New Testament takes everything and kind of ties it up in knots. You know. Well, but getting back to Margaret she was 15 when she was decapitated. You know, she was even younger than Joan. And so I feel like the reason why she doesn't want Joan to burn is because they're peers. You know, she could be a good friend of Joan, and you know, obviously loves her. And you know, it's like this terrible thing happened to me. I don't want this terrible thing to happen. You know, it's almost like your kids. You know, if something terrible happened to your kids, you know, like I have a daughter, and I don't want anything happening to her. You know, the shit I went through in life that I wouldn't want her to suffer. You know, so it's kind of like even though she's younger in years, in human years than Joan, it's almost like a motherly thing where she wants to protect her.
So one thing that sat a little weird with me personally, it doesn't sit weirdly with Margaret because she herself was a virgin, and of course she was really young too. But the whole, the scene where she talks to Joan about like, yeah, don't have sex because God wouldn't like that. It's just personally for me that, and again, Cassidy, like you, I'm Catholic school all the way through, kilts and uniforms, the whole sort of, I keep coming up with the word of commodification, but that's the wrong word for what I mean. But this whole thing that like, the whole thing with virginity, like, I don't know, just, I always felt weird when I personally, me, Mary Beth, when I read that part of the play, because I was like, really? Ugh, why? Why do you have to?
I understand that, and like we were saying, when you're looking at it as a 2020 audience watching this, I think a lot of audience members would have the same reaction to that conversation nowadays. And her, her virginity, just by saying the Maid of Orleans, is already kind of mentioned. And I do find the scene a little bit superfluous because, one, it's being mentioned throughout the show, and two, like if it was used as some sort of foreshadowing, like if she, became tempted by somebody, if she got persuaded by Satan to, jump the bones of some dude in the army, like I could see how it would make sense as sort of like a plot lead-in. But since, she never really does experience that temptation, even with Andre, it's a very like almost schoolgirl, schoolboy innocence between them. Like, since it doesn't develop in that way, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Okay, let me explain that. Joan is about 18, 19 years old at this time, and she has never addressed an adolescence. The way I experienced adolescence, it came on me kind of quickly, and it was very, very distracting. It was really distracting. I almost couldn't do anything, So what Margaret is saying to Joan there is, if this happens to you, if it biologically happens to you, it's going to mess with your mission. Because despite the fact that Margaret is the least thrilled about this mission, it's not going to go against God, So she's really kind of guiding you away from humanity so that Joan can follow through with this godly mission. I don't know if that makes sense or if you agree with it, but that's kind of where I'm coming from there.
So, Mark, is it less about like Margaret's telling Joan that she has to remain pure for God, and more that you have to remain pure so that you're not distracted from your mission?
Right.
Also don't take up, basket weaving either.
I mean, you know what? I mean, you know what? I got to tell you,
Sorry.
No, I felt a little funny about that myself writing it. I'm like, why am I going here? But so
that's
I
kind
can
of
understand where Joan and Margaret are coming from. But
but isn't that kind of an interesting thing that if you think about it, probably two of the biggest constants in the human condition are sex and war throughout history. And yet Joan is being told to deny this one aspect of the human condition and something that is very much a part of being human, to engage in slaughter, which is another part of that. So I don't know if it's part of denying a part of the human, because she's accomplishing her mission.
Right.
It's also kind of ironic
the second most human of endeavors, I guess.
Yeah.
It's also kind of ironic that she's now that you put it that way, Bill, it's also kind of ironic that she's putting push towards something that we're told that God is very, like, anti-war, anti-violence, peace, love, all that. It's like, no.
I've never believed that for a minute, even though I was a Catholic.
Well, in the modern day, that's what, again, Catholic school, yeah. But, yeah, now that you put it that way, it's like, it's funny that she's being pushed towards something so dark and very vulnerable of herself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you think about like the word carnal, I mean, carnal is of the body, right?
Right.
Carnage
Mm-hmm.
Carnage is a, and war is a carnal thing. So she's not avoiding carnal activity. She's just being prioritized one over the other, which is kind of odd.
Mhm.
I found it interesting, Mark, that you one of your lines. I'm paraphrasing. Forgive me. Something along the lines of, "Oh, God always picks his best guys and then goes and tortures them." You know, and
Yeah.
I've always thought that since I was in catechism and getting my confirmation, and we I thought the book of Job particularly. Here he is, the most faithful dude, and he has to lose his family and friends. He has to get boils. All the horrible things.
Yep, that was actually my early favorite line of yours. You know, he sent his son to be crucified on a cross of cedar, and Jacques says, and everybody's good with this for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's I love the skepticism throughout the whole play. I mean,
Yeah, well, I think there's a line where I think it's Michael mentions Abraham, and Margaret said, "Don't even go there. Don't." Like, you know, please.
Well,
Which-
having
skepticism is
fathered having fathered a daughter myself, that was a really, I mean, obviously life changing, but it was really life changing. It made me see things a whole other different way. Before I was a dad, I heard about the story about Abraham, and I don't know how much thought I gave it, but if anybody told me that I had to kill my daughter just to prove that I was loyal to them, I'll burn in hell before I do that. Having a kid really changed my life in a lot of different ways. And I was reading Kierkegaard's, and a story about Abraham, and he said, well, it began as a story of faith, and people really liked it and they loved it, and they thought, yeah, but as time progresses, it degenerated into what the hell are you talking about, killing my kid? I'm not going to kill my kid. Fuck that shit. So, and that's the one thing I don't get about religion as opposed to spirituality. I think spirituality is good, but religion is like, you got to do what I say. That's what Michael's all about. Michael's all about, yes, sir. I'll do whatever you want. Margaret is complete opposite. Turns out to be complete opposite. But then Catherine pulls her back into the godly way of thinking.
Yeah, I like the way you set it up as almost a chorus or the muses.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's kind of what they are. But I love people, and I don't want to see them hurt or
That's
any
great.
at all.
Well, folks, I'm gonna. I just had recorded this. I'm going to split this up. I think between the play itself and then the talk back afterwards. But I'll upload them both to YouTube. That's okay with everybody. And so people can watch it. I know some people weren't able to attend tonight, but they were really anxious to listen to the play, so they'll have a chance anyhow. So that's cool. Any final thoughts?
I hope I haven't offended anybody. I know that I've written about some really, really touchy things. And, in my 57th year on this planet, I've had a lot of walks with God, and I don't always agree with Satan. And please don't think I'm a Satanist. I'm not that. But I find his character interesting. I played him once I was in Last Days of Judas Iscariot. Very empowering character. But again, please don't think I'm saying everything, and then I'm saying, don't think I'm a Satanist. I just fell in love with Joan of Arc. I loved her purity and her mission and the implausibility of her story. And she was a 17-year-old girl that led armies. If you really think about it, I think if I really think about it, I can see how the soldiers of the Armagnac army could see God in her. How people find Jesus in places like prison or a very spiritually adept person. That I really think that she was sent by God, and she's a person that makes me believe in the goodness of God. Simply because of the way the story played out.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thank all of you. I really appreciate you, spending your time doing this and spending the time beforehand to prep for it. So, thank you again, and this was fun. So, thanks everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank
All
all
right.
of you guys.
Night all. It was a pleasure.
So when do we go full virtual production with this?
I'll keep you
No,
posted.
next June, Bill. Next June.
As
Yeah. Okay.
soon as the vaccine's out. All right. Good night, everybody.
Oh my God.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Thanks a billion.
Night.
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
my pleasure.
Oh.